Good afternoon, everybody. It's another episode of Sunday Dinner. I have another special guest with me today. To jump straight into it, I have photographer, media personnel, voiceover, registered actor with talent one, and musician. I have right here with me Brian C. Spann. Everybody,
Yes, sir, man. Good to be up here with you today, man.
how you doing today, sir?
Man, it's a wonderful day to be alive, brother. That's all I can tell you. With all this going on, I'm glad to be alive.
That's good. That's good. I know I got you here today. We're talking about photographer because you're a photographer, so we can talk about a lot of the questions that the people have about photography, especially dealing with COVID-19 right now and everything being a mix up and being prolonged or being rescheduled and stuff like that. So today we will get in the hearts and minds of a photographer today and talk about your end of the aspect as far as photography. So first question I have for today is how would you describe your style as a photographer?
Kind of weird. I'm a Batman tech baby, so I call it the James Bond style. Okay. You know, you have the luxury, you have the fashion, and you have the action all in one. That's really the way I look at it.
Okay. Explain a little bit more as far as James Bond style. Tell the people a little bit more like what type of style is that and pictures.
Okay. Yes, sir. So, you know, if many of you out there that may be familiar with James Bond, most people are familiar with Sean Connery. Mm-hmm. And today they're familiar with the new James Bond, who is shows more reality, but the luxury, the fashion, the luxury cars with the high tech stuff, but the clothing, the fashion, you know, you get chicness, but you also get, you get the danger and the thriller at the same time. That's what I mean. So a lot of my photography, I like to shoot like high-end vehicles. I like to shoot luxury cars, but also like to shoot fashion models as well. So that's why I kind of use the James Bond type thing along with tech. I love tech, man. I love jet airplanes and buttons and lights and lit up dashboards. And so I'd say, I like for people to kind of see things through the lens of my eye from that perspective.
Great you asked that, because as far as photographer and art, what is your passion? What inspires you and what makes you happy about photography?
Wow, that's my answer might be a little split on that, because my passion, man, is like, I love entertainment. Of course, like I said, I'm into acting and music, but my passion really is like different forms of arts and entertainment. I love it because I think that it's a different type of language. And I don't think that there are any barriers per se, or any, that I don't think that the language of art and entertainment has stopped. I think that it evolves. I think that there are people out there that kind of have this, some people call them unorthodox. In my term, I like to say unique, because I think that there's nothing new under the sun. And though it's new to me, doesn't mean that it's new at all. And that there's so much of another language out there in arts of expression, So that's what my passion is. My passion is in the arts and entertainment industry, and also in the expression of how does it look in your eye. Just because it looks this way through your eye doesn't make it strange. Excuse me. As far as inspiration, I was inspired by my uncle. My uncle's a mortician, and he's the CEO of Cutchins Funeral Home in Franklinton, North Carolina. And when I was a little kid, we were riding his car, and he would just pull over on the side of the road and say, "Get out there and stand over by this bale of hay, or take your shoes off and go stand in that creek." And I'm like, "Man, might be some moccasins out there." Boy, ain't no moccasins out there. Going out there and stand in that creek, roll your pant legs up, looking like Tom Sawyer. And so, he would just randomly just take these pictures, to the point it was like I started wanting to be in front of a camera. So then I started modeling when I was about 30. And I still model, just not as much. Just recently did something for a company called Wooden Works. My girlfriend and I went out there, and we became part of the advertisement for them. But it's just that now I want to learn the other side of the camera. I'm getting older. I'm not some big time actor. I'm not a Morris Chestnut or a Denzel, but the thing is that I've had my time on one end of the camera. Now I want to see what it's like to be on the other end, and kind of give my view of what it looks like on that side, And so my uncle really inspired me, man. And John Martinez, who was my photographer for years. I've known him for 13 years. They were the two that really inspired me to become a photographer.
Okay. All right. Definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine going stuff in the creek for water and putting your hands up. You gotta worry about everybody else beside the picture.
I tell you, man, I was like, you need to go tell the snake to stand in front of the camera, bro. Bro, I'm not doing it. But my uncle made me a daredevil, man. So then I got to the point where I love being in front of a camera, not to be vain, and it's not even the love to be seen. I just want to see what this expression looks like. Because for years as a kid, you know, I mean, a lot of these people are my friends now, but I was picked on a lot because I was taller than everybody else. You know, when you're in the 6th grade, 5'6", you know, and the average person is 5'1", and you wearing a man size 12 and they wearing a man size 5, you know, you get picked at. And for years, I was picked at for my large lips and my big feet. You know, till they put me in the school. What do you call it, yearbook for having the largest feet. Because I had the largest feet in school from 8th grade all the way to senior high school. I wore 14 and a half. And I was very complex. I had a complex, man. I was at the point where I was ashamed. Until one day I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what? There are people that are paying money to look like this. Mm-hmm. So let me go ahead and, you know, let me make something out of this. A lot of times what people look at as trash is really because they was jealous. So I took that and I did something with it. And I love it. And now I want to make other people feel good about it.
Yeah, I think I peaked towards like my 7th or 8th grade year. I hit 6 foot, so I didn't get picked at, but I did definitely mature for that facial hair and everything else. So I definitely understand what you're going through, peaking early, maturing early, and stuff like that.
It happened to me twice. I grew 6 inches between 5th and 6th grade. And then in the 8th grade, I went in the 8th grade at 5'8". I came out of the 8th grade at 6'1". So I peaked twice. So I was kind of like the Dwayne Wayne of my school back in the day. So I literally went and got the glasses that flipped up, you know, and it was crazy, man. I had the flat top. You know, I was known for wearing the Adidas sweatsuits back in the day with the killer sneakers, because that was my way of trying to get in with the in crowd, because I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. You know, I was just trying to fit in when I realized I didn't have to try to do that. But it took me a while to learn that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't learn that until like after college these days, especially with social media. Everybody's trying to follow each other right now. But not to get off topic, before the pandemic, what was your artistic vision as a photographer?
I was just thinking about it at that time. When the pandemic really hit, I would say March was the month where everything kind of changed the country around. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was in the mode of trying to get a vision for it. I was still thinking about it. I was talking to my girlfriend, she's a fashion designer and an interior decorator. Okay. And she told me, I'm not paying a photographer. She said, you're going to do it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. She says, I'm going to invest in a camera. You're going to take my pictures for free. And you're going to use this camera for your business. So she basically pushed me. That's a good lady in your life when you got somebody that'll push you. Yeah. And took me out my comfort zone. And it forced me to develop a vision quick, because I was like, you know, I'm just thinking models. Then she started telling me, you need to learn how to shoot leaves and trees, and learn how to shoot anything else you can see out there, because people are not just going to look at models. They want to see if you're diverse. So I started going outside shooting leaves. Next thing you know, I made the leaf look like something you could put on a birthday card. And it went from there to animals, to farm animals, to shooting on farms, to shooting, you know, for corporate groups now. And so my vision was basically developed in the transition of me becoming a photographer. I never had the time to plan what I wanted to do. It actually started happening in the midst of becoming one. I'm reading a manual. I don't know what I'm looking at. So I decided to take a tutorial and learn from somebody that knew what they were doing. And bam, I started getting work. So my vision started developing from just models to now saying, hey, I want to do this James Bond thing. I want to shoot, you know, fashionable clothes. It's kind of like that Ric Flair lifestyle, you know, jet flying, limousine riding. I want everybody to feel that they can have that kind of look in their life. I don't think you have to be a 6-figure person to look that way. I think everybody deserves to have that look about themselves that they want to say, hey, I want to know what it's like to look like this person that's in Jet magazine. You got a right to. And I don't, and that's and my stuff developed just from that.
Okay. So models, I know years ago, back when I was like 30, 40, pounds lighter, a lot of people wanted me to get into modeling. A lot of people didn't even know that, but it was people pushing me to get into modeling.
Yeah.
Or working with models, what would you say is the first step of transitioning to trying to be a model? How would it go about that?
First thing you need to do is you need to make sure you test your level of confidence. I'll be the first one to tell you, because sometimes things will trigger fear in you when you try to do something for the first time because you see somebody else doing it, but you don't know all of what it took to get there. The other thing is to do your research. Research on what it take, what's required out of models. Don't just go by one level of information. It's just like when a book is written. Books are written off of other literature, other authors. They pull from ideas. So I tell people, don't just get your information from one source. Go to different sources and then try to find the common denominator, because there are people out there trying to make money off of you because of what you don't know. There are groups out there that sit out there in the malls and they're saying you could be the next top model. Next thing you know, you're paying all of this money to go to their school and you never make it, when you really don't even have to do all of that. Networking is your biggest thing. So I would say, do your research, learn how to network, look at other models and see if that's the way, if you want to go through what they went through to be that size. I say that because it's different in the model world for a male than it is for a female. Females, I hate to say it, are more scrutinized. And, I've modeled on the runway since 2001. And I've seen young ladies who are like 0, 1, and 2, in body size. And they basically starve themselves to look this way. When I can see a female that's a size 12 that can look just as beautiful in that same dress for a 12 than the person that's wearing a 2. So you have to sit down and think about, do you want to fit the criteria that the modeling world is asking for? Because to me, they're like two different versions. You have the modeling world that's in the magazines that can get about $5,000 per show, that have to go all the way to New York. You can't come to Durham, North Carolina, where I live, and get that type of money. You come to Durham, you're probably just gonna, you're not even gonna probably get paid. You're just glad to be in somebody's show. So are you willing to relocate? Are you willing to, look at the price it's gonna cost for you to live where you need to live? And find out if, number one, are you even gonna get the job? Because the key is getting picked. Once you get picked, then you want to get paid. Do you need an agent? Do you know the lingo? Do you know how to fill out a contract? So those are the research things that you want to look at. One of the things I will tell a person is get a good agent, and go to an agency that's not going to charge you to join them. If you have to go to an agency and they charging you to join them, that's not who you don't want to deal with them. You want to deal with an agency that gets paid when you get paid. I learned that. Talk to someone who's been in the industry for years and find out what they went through. So those are the things I would say to be a model. Yeah, stay in the gym, get on a good diet. You already know to do that. But it's that legwork of understanding the business, understanding the risks, what they may ask you to do versus what you want to do. Like me, you're not going to get me to strip. And this is just my personal thing. I'm a born again Christian, and I don't speak for other Christians. I speak for myself. And even when I went into acting, I said there are 3 things I'm not doing. Number one, I'm not going to be lip locking some female, because number one, it ain't my wife. I don't know who she is. And I think that my body should be saved for a specific person and not just for some random thing on a screen for people to pay money. And then, my feelings and emotions, and you have to control those things, because the human body responds to certain actions, and it triggers chemicals in your body that can go for the good and the bad, for the love and for the hates. And when you have to keep going through these highs and low changes on a film, people don't understand. Actors and models and stuff, a lot of these people have some issues because they have a demand to fit what the screen is telling them to be and not their straight personality. So you have to be willing to say what you're willing to do and not do, and be willing to pay the consequences. You may not become a full-time model or big-time model because you're not willing to put on something that's going to reveal most of your body. You may not, but if you're willing to do that, to each his own. But, some people talk, they live for money. I don't live for money. I live for fulfillment. So are you in it for money, or are you in it for fulfillment, or both? What are you willing to do? And if you're willing to look at what the cost is, are you willing to put your image on the line? When you get old one day and that image doesn't matter anymore, the only thing that image doesn't matter, the only thing matters is your name. So are you willing to put your long-lasting name on the line for something temporarily just to make some money and be known for a moment? And then once people are done with you, they don't know you anymore? Or are you willing to do something that's going to basically touch lives, and you show the success of your life, how to touch lives in your success by not compromising at the same time? So, these are the things that you have to be willing to do in order. That's what I would prescribe anybody that wants to model, anybody that wants to act. Do your research, find out what the requirements are. Are you willing to pay the price for those requirements? And talk to people that have already been into that line. Don't talk to somebody local. Try to get in contact with someone that's been out there. There are enough people out there in the celebrity world that will make themselves available just to share their information with you. If you just contact their agent and say, hey, look, I'm an aspiring model or actor. I just want to find out, what did you have to go through to get to where you are?
Thank you for the great explanation. Like I said, growing up, they try to push me towards modeling, and before the military and all that stuff. It was something I always thought about, but I never thought I could do it. Not because of self-confidence, but just not knowing enough and not thinking somebody from my stature was going to modeling. So, but I had a lot of friends, especially once I joined the military, that were models, that they're models.
Yes, sir.
So I followed them a lot. We went to their photo shoots and stuff like that. But definitely, I never knew what they went through. I know they started so definitely. You have to be in shape, and it's like it's a persona that you have to be that 0, 1, or 2. And I think that was kind of reflected on me, because I never always was muscular. Still, even since a child up to now, so like I never was that slim.
Yes, sir.
I looked like a model, but it was like I had a good physique because I was always muscular and not in shape. So, yeah, definitely.
Well, if you don't mind me interjecting, you have to be bold enough to create something. See, when you look at the industry is trying to find out what people want. Here's the problem. A lot of the people don't know what they want. They take what looks famous. And sometimes sometimes we don't understand that what's famous now was laughed at in previous times. So you got to be willing to make that move and just say, hey, I'm going to make people respect this look right here. I'm never going to be this size, but I'm going to look good while I'm this size. You see what I'm saying? And, because honestly, if you're over 6'2", most of the time they don't want you on a runway as a male model. And if you're under 5'9" or 5'10", they don't want you on the runway. It's like there's a requirement for the industry. But if you have something that will make the industry money, something new that they're saying that this is what we've been telling society, this is the way you're supposed to look. Well, who says everybody's going to look like that? It's going to buy your stuff. But then you go out here and you see a daredevil who is getting everybody's attention, who looks the opposite of what you just said. They're not going to overlook you. They're going to try to target the audience that looks just like that person, because they're looking for someone that's attractive to make money. And if you can attract someone with a characteristic that's different from the norm, they're going to go for that. So you have to be bold enough to say, if they won't acknowledge this look, I'm going to show them how it looks. That's why everybody's using YouTube right now, because they won't get the respect in a certain level of the industry. So they got their respect by starting their own site, their own channel, and now they're getting so many ratings. Who cares about what the industry is saying? They're making their money that way.
All right, so part 2 of this question. How has your vision changed or slightly shifted since the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement began?
That's a good question, man, because I've taken pictures of murals, things of that nature. What I didn't want to do was try to take advantage of what everybody's talking about. If I can use this as an example, if I want to go and feed the homeless, I don't want the TV media out there putting the camera on me talking about so-and-so is taking time to feed the homeless. I don't want to use somebody's situation to draw attention to myself. So I don't want to be another person to take the Black Lives Matter. And I'm not saying the organization, but I'm saying now that just the fact that Black Lives Matter, I didn't want to try to just captivate on that right now because everybody else is already doing it. So if I can, as a Black man, still be diverse, and that's the thing that have changed me is to, as a Black man, how can I show diversity? Because right now, I'm always going to concentrate on what matters as a Black person because there's been so many things that look like it didn't matter for Black people. So I'm going to always focus on that. But if I can bring inclusion in with that, when I say inclusion, to bring everybody in that should be recognizing that Black lives matter. So I'm that Black person that wants to bring the Asian, that wants to bring the Caucasian, the Indian. I want to get photo shots of you. I want to show people that we all can get along. And I'm doing that as a Black man. That's what changed. That's what I've been changing to do. I don't want to just say as a Black man, and I'm just taking pictures of Black. But as a Black man, I want to show people how Black matters in networking with everybody else. That's one of the things during the pandemic that helped me in that. The other thing that changed me was realizing that right now, I may not get a lot of models. I mean, I've only shot a couple right now because when I first started, this thing didn't really make an issue out of, it wasn't an issue. So it made me have to go look at the corporate, and I'm glad because then I was able to deal with Toyota. I was able to shoot for a limousine company because I wasn't just focused on models and fashion. It pushed me into that thing I said, the James Bond. Remember I told you my development basically started getting, it was being shaped as I was going because it forced me to say, hey, I'm not getting people right now. They're too scared. So, and I have a passion for this. I'm not doing this just for the money. I love what I do. So I want to find what else can I shoot that's going to let people see how things look in my eyes. And it made me make phone calls. And now I've gotten connections with, the people that sell produce, agricultural groups, jets and limousine services. It pushed me to do that.
You said Jets. I'm a big fan of Jets. I'm gonna get one.
All right. Yes, sir.
What happened with the Jets situation? Explain to us how that came about.
Well, I've always, I don't like flying, though I will. I'm fascinated with, like I said, tech, So I'm a marketing manager also. I didn't mention that, but I didn't think it was relevant, but I'm a marketing manager for a limousine company called Triangle Corporate Coach. Okay. And my CEO, who is African-American, he's from South Carolina, Mr. Travis Brisbane, said that he wanted to make a difference in transportation. He didn't want the regular limousine, and because most people think limousines are stretches. That's not what that is. It's a French term, which just means transportation. And that could be stretch or non-stretch. We only have one stretch car. So what this man did was he went out and got a 2020 740i Series BMW and a 2019 S560 Series Mercedes-Benz. Nobody else in the area's got one. And he was like, now I need you to find a way to sell it. I was like, what? You wouldn't got that. I said, but it's hot. He said, I need you to do it because you know how to network. So he let me have his fleet and let me do the photography. And he said, I want to get this done in front of a jet. So I went out to one of the private airstrips in the RDU area, and I talked to a representative who connected me with Corey Aviation. And the owner, Miss Beth Falwell, was so sweet that she was like, sure, y'all can come out here. But then my manager, my CEO at the time, wanted to use a G5 plane, and she had a CJ5 and a CJ3. And so he was like, well, not right now. Let's see if we get a G5. But he didn't have a problem with me staying in connection with her because while I'm building the business, he also was supporting me as a photographer. That's what I love about him. He's not just saying, you're only supposed to do this for me. He's like, man, I want you to be successful in your business. So whatever contacts you make for me, use them for yourself as well because I trust you. And that's what I did. And I asked the lady if I could get out there and shoot the plane. And she called her staff and they met me at the hangar and basically pulled the CJ out, the Cessna plane out in the front of, on the strip and let me have a field day with it. And that's how I got started.
Oh, nice. I wish I was there for that. Yeah.
We can work that out if you get down here. Let me know when you come and I'll give her a call.
Yeah, right now I'm in Charlotte right now, so we're not too far. If you say you're around,
yeah, 2 hours away, man. You let me know. I'll set up a time with you.
Because truth be told, since this whole pandemic thing started, yeah, me and my wife got married June 13th, like 2 months ago.
Yeah,
But
man, congratulations on that.
Appreciate it. I heard the son got married too a few weeks ago. That's one.
Okay. Yeah.
So, we paid for everything, photography and stuff like that, but we still haven't, because of the pandemic, we still haven't taken our engagement photos. Everything paid for, the food paid for, but now it's like talking with you is giving me a different idea. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, before, we were going to do the all black thing, kings and queens and stuff like that, but now it's like, well, we can get it from jets and cars. You might work on that on that, especially on that.
I would love to give Miss Falwell a call. And, I think that also, we can get on a podcast, man, and talk about our business, because they are a very good, reputable company. And they really just believe in, doing right by people. And also they believe in good business. So I think it'll be good, man. I'll be glad to talk to her and let her know, what you like to do. So, off screen, give me some information. Hey, we'll make it happen.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, I know you was a media person, voiceover, an actor, and musician, and comedy. So what kind of made you travel into those aspects of field growing up?
Wow. Went through some changes in family when I was younger, and it was just me. My kids were in another city, and I was just trying to find something that would keep me going, because I'm attached at that time. They're grown now. So my grandmother had passed away, and I was in Brooklyn, and Kings of Comedy came on. And for the first time, I got to really hear Bernie Mac do his thing.
Oh, yeah. Bernie Mac killed the Kings of Comedy.
Man, here it is before my grandmother's funeral, and I'm sad, and I'm watching this guy, and I am like crying tears. I'm laughing. And I always grew up imitating people, sound effects. I was the guy known in school for doing the human beatbox, and they turn the music down. They think it's the music, and it's still me. So, the guy from Police Academy was one of my heroes. And so I grew up learning how to imitate, to do voiceovers that way. And so I wanted to get into comedy because at the time I was going through a sad period. And I said, well, when people get bit by snakes, what do? They make anti-venom. They take the venom, make anti-venom. So I wanted to take my hurt and make people laugh. I wanted to take what was putting me in pain and make it somebody smile. So I said, hey, let me start imitating people. So I ended up doing a comedy at my church. And we had, the goal was $50. That was the prize. And I got up and did The Nutty Professor and Bernie Mac and won.
What scene you did for Nutty Professor?
Huh?
What scene you did for Nutty Professor?
When they were sitting at the table and everybody was talking, and I did all four of the voices of the Clumps. I did Sherman, I did his mama, did his daddy, and then did grandma. Okay. And then I did a prank call to a radio station. It's with Radio 1. And they had just been in existence probably a little over a year. And there was the late Sonia Ham, who was one of the greatest announcers who used to do the Breakfast Club, was on. And so I did a prank call to her live. And she answered the phone, and I did a Sherman Clump voice. And she said, who in the world is this? And she just started laughing. She said, I told her what my name was. She said, will you please do this on live for me? And so I did all of that live on the radio, and then people was calling in talking about they had to pull their cars over because they were laughing hard. And then they started letting me come on before going to work in the morning to do voice impersonations.
Nice. Voiceover and voice impersonation, like, what does that feel like? How did you, what point in time did you know, like, you can, you don't think you just don't wake up to say, I'm gonna be, sound like Bernie Mac, I'm gonna sound like the Clumps. Like, how did that work for you? It's like,
I was about 6. Okay. And I told my uncle runs the funeral home now, but my late grandmother was running it at the time. And I told you I went through some trauma. I lost my mom when I was 3 to an aneurysm. It happened in front of me. Okay. And my grandmother, after my grandfather died 2 years after my mom, it was just my grandmother and I. And this is before my uncle took over the funeral home because he was still working for Carolina Power and Light Company. So there were times she had to leave me by myself. So what I would do, I had a little puppy. I was always a dog person. My girlfriend calls me a dog whisperer to this day. So it was always my dog, Hanna-Barbera on television, and a cardboard box with some pillows in it. And I would sit back and I would watch these cartoons, and I would find myself imitating the cartoon character. And it started off with, what's my man's name? It started off with Elmer Fudd. It started off with Yosemite Sam when he was getting mad at people saying his little cartoon cuss words because I know I wasn't allowed to cuss. It started with, then after that, I started moving to other characters, trying to see, because being a musician, learning how to play, I would learn how to play by listening to the radio. If I wanted to learn something on the keys, I'm not a great key musician, but I know how to play by ear enough. But if I wanted to learn a song, I had to learn how to imitate what I heard. I'm like, well, my throat is a string instrument. So I started learning how to imitate people. As I would listen to them, I try to sound more like them over and over. Then I would try to get someone that I knew. I wouldn't tell them to listen to this. I would just bust out and do it. And they'd be like, man, you sound like so-and-so. And so that kind of pushed me into wanting to do it more because it caught people off guard because they weren't expecting it.
Especially back then.
It feels funny, man, because to be somebody else while being yourself is a weird thing. Imitating wrestlers like Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah, Hogan. I would imitate people like Hulk Hogan. Just those minor changes in my throat taught me how to imitate other people. Bernie Mac was probably the hardest one.
Why you say that?
Because his voice is so unique. Because he's unique within himself, man. And he was so funny that there's certain dynamics that his voice tone would go into that's what made people laugh. So it wasn't so much just what he said, it's how he said it. So I had to learn how to say it the way he said it. And sometimes I can be good at it. If I'm tired, it would be kind of difficult, but I can still get away with it. But he was, to me, the biggest challenge I ever had. The clumps, it was easy because it was always Eddie. We all know Eddie was grandma. Eddie. So all he did was change the same voice, different tone. But Bernie was Bernie. He wasn't imitating anybody. And it was just funny, look at someone, well, my sister kids, North Carolina, trying to tell you something. So they sent the 2-year-old downstairs to get some milk and cookies, Didn't I tell you, little punk brother, take your butt upstairs, he can't get no more milk and cookies,
Oh, man. It's different than a person, man. It's like when you hear it online, you see other people do it, but in person, oh, man. Thank you for blessing me with that one.
Man. I got mad at my kids one day, man. They were like, I would say 11, 9, because they are 2 years apart, 11, 9, and 7. And they really they ticked me off. And I had been impersonating Bernie Mac so much that when I got mad, people said I sounded like I didn't know I sounded like it. So my kids were scared. And then all of a sudden, my oldest son, BJ, looked at me and started laughing. And he knew I was getting mad. When he started laughing, I'm getting on them, all 3 of them. And he started laughing. I'm getting fired up. He's like, Dad, don't get mad. He said, can I tell you something? What, boy? You sound like Bernie Mac when you mad. All I could do was laugh, man. So then I had to be conscious when I'm serious to make sure I sounded like Bernie Mac, because I practiced so hard to try to sound like it.
Oh, man, I don't know how I would have took it. Yeah. If you sounded like Bernie Mac, you trying to whip me.
I know, right? Didn't I tell you to go inside, get some milk and cooking, boy? Didn't I tell you a little something? Shut up, sit down, say nothing else.
Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you blessing with this. Before we wrap it up, let the people know how to reach you, social media, website, any content, any future things that you got going on, coming up.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
This will be posted in the description below as well, but you still tell people how to reach you.
Yes, sir. My website is www.spannmanmedia.com. That's SP as in Peter, ANN, the word man, the word media, the number 1.com. That's my website. And my other contact information is on there as well, but I can also be reached at spannmanmedia@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook as Spanman Media. Instagram is Spanman Media, but I'm on LinkedIn as Brian C. Spann, Brian. I didn't want to come on that way because I was already on LinkedIn, on other business perspectives. So I wanted to go ahead and keep that. Everybody knew me previously on Facebook when I modeled as God's Model, capital GODZMODEL, but I changed everything over to Spann Media.
Appreciate it. Thank you again for blessing me with another special guest episode of Sunday Dinner. Photographer, media man, voiceovers, registered actor, and musician. Please contact this man if you need photography done, voiceovers, acting, and musician. Please contact Brian C. Spann. Everything will be linked in the description below once we post the video and stuff like that, so they can, just click on the link and contact you. But thank you again for blessing me with another podcast. Thank you for sharing your story with me. Thank you for inspiring other people, and thank you for making us laugh. Thank you at the end of the day. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Anything else you want to say to the people?
Man, God bless everybody. I know it's a tough time right now. And I just wanted to say, don't let the situations around you put fear in your heart. Let love overcome fear. If a man has fear, he's not perfect in love. And, there's a lot of things that's going on right now. You're hearing so much information. You don't know who to believe. And, I don't believe in trying to push my faith on people. I think it's something elective, but I will say this, especially to those that do believe, you got to trust God, because right now we don't know, everybody is probably one word away from being in a soup kitchen right now. And if you have a job, be thankful. And if you don't have one, just keep your faith and realize that, that God is still a provider. And just know that there are people out there, even if it looks like people don't care, there are people out there that do care about your well-being and that are praying for you. God's got people around the clock praying for you that don't even know you, but he will put your name or put your face in their mind when they're praying, and he will hear that prayer. So don't give up. Don't give in. Don't let the circumstances, change, your heart and wanting to still live, because a lot of people have really just have done damage to themselves and other people during this pandemic. This time we got to stick together.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Definitely, bro.